This is Skyrim, you know, that 13-year-old Bethesda game looking like a truly next-gen experience. And all it took was about 1,300 mods layered together in an insane concoction of upgraded visuals. This particular combination of mods is called Eldergleam, and it was put together by a modder called Captain Panda. It replaces, adds to, and modifies hundreds if not thousands of Skyrim's assets, including the NPCs, the overall lighting, foliage, textures, animations, the weather, character creators, the UI, and of course loading screens. It leaves pretty much no stone unturned in an effort to transform Skyrim into a next-gen title, and Captain Panda got about as close as I think anyone can get, with at least a one-size-fits-all approach. Let's check this out in more detail. Now, this mod list uses the Wabbajack mod pack application to fetch all the required files from Nexus mods and then automatically installs everything for you, including configuring all of the mods and their settings. All you have to do is download the mod list from the mod Nexus page and then open the file in Wabbajack. Captain Panda has also nicely written out an installation guide that covers some of the basics, like making sure that you're installing it on a fresh install of Skyrim. But that's pretty much all it takes to get going. No coding, no scripting, no writing out specific lines of code in a config file, though I would recommend getting Nexus Premium to make the download a bit easier for this, otherwise you're going to be manually downloading like thousands of files. And once installed, Eldergleam does take up nearly 300 gigabytes of space, so, you know, be prepared for that monstrosity. And then boom, Skyrim is now a radically improved game with almost every visual element modified to look more modern and impressive without totally replacing the game's original look and feel. All of the foliage from the biggest trees to the smallest patches of grass are denser and more impressive looking. The lighting and weather effects enhance Skyrim's original atmosphere arguably to perfection. I was honestly taken aback when I first saw Whiterun in the distance with the sunset. The golden sunlight raking across the landscape was genuinely breathtaking. Millions of players around the world have seen this sight. I've probably seen it a dozen times over the years, but this time it hits differently. The introduction to Skyrim is such an iconic part of gaming history. Your first time meeting the Jarl of Whiterun, going on your first fetch quest in a cave, and collecting your first shout, your first dragon fight. These are all things anyone who's enjoyed Skyrim will remember fondly. And as much as I'll cherish those memories, it feels like Eldergleam has kind of cleaned the visual lens, so to speak, revealing Bethesda's true intent with the majesty of Tamriel. For me, the big star of the show is the environmental improvements in lighting. Some scenes look genuinely photorealistic, like this view of the mountains after I exited the first cave. The original game's technological limitations hid the scale and grandeur of this world. Back in 2011, with the RAM limitations of consoles and computers, the density and number of assets in games was just scaled way back. Now, the new bigger trees and denser foliage really sell the impression that Tamriel is a world where nature and people live more closely connected. The landscapes just feel so much more lush and full looking, making it almost impossible for me to go back to vanilla Skyrim at this point. Loading up vanilla, it looks almost empty by comparison. Now, Bethesda did try to push Skyrim more into the present with its special edition of the game. It added new effects like volumetric god rays, dynamic depth of field, screen space reflections, and some remastered art, but Eldergleam pushes things so much further and makes Skyrim feel much more vibrant and alive without adding tons of additional content or fundamentally changing the core experience. Now, if you're new to the modding scene or you haven't played Skyrim before, this is, in my opinion, a great way to see the potential of mods without overshadowing the vanilla experience, or without overshadowing or drastically changing the vanilla experience. There's no dramatic changes to quests or progression or balance. The mod is basically just Skyrim, but prettier. Not Skyrim, but the dragons are Thomas the Tank Engine, you can marry every NPC in the game and the chickens randomly explode for whatever reason. And I do appreciate this because a lot of the mod lists that are the must-have recommendations for Skyrim often change some of the core mechanics, which may or may not be to your liking. Now that said, some of the changes are not to my taste or too dramatic of a change. Every time, say, a Draugr wakes up or becomes alerted, they make a very loud and dramatic sound. And this is the kind of cool embellishment you might want for, say, a boss encounter or maybe the first time you see a new enemy, but hearing it every time, it does get old pretty quickly. The mod list also includes several changes to the visual appearances of NPCs that pretty much turn everyone into a hottie, which doesn't quite line up with the world crafting that I think Bethesda was going for. These people are supposed to be rural farmers, warriors, tradespeople, peasants, not contestants for Sweden's Next Top Model. Another area that I found was a bit struggling was the cohesion. All of the UI mods do work well together, but each has its own visual language. So while some elements look great, like the tab menu, others still look like Skyrim or just plain old Sky UI. And naturally, there's also some bugs with the mods that I hope can get ironed out in maybe a revision down the road. But truly, the silver lining is that Captain Panda has made it very easy to change things that you don't like. If I wanted to, I could just disable the NPC changes and the cinematic dialogue camera effects and some of the UI stuff and just keep playing. It's very easy to do. Now, when it comes to performance, my frame rate was totally acceptable with everything maxed out and using the default Eldergleam performance preset. Skyrim is one of those games that can run at 1000 FPS if you want it to, but it still never feels totally smooth on mouse and keyboard. It's a game that was clearly intended for controllers, so using a mouse just has some weird latency and jitter stuff that always seems to be there no matter what you do. Now obviously there will be some big performance impacts with this mod pack and you'll have to figure out what works best for your system, but I found it totally enjoyable to play on pretty much the default settings. Now while some scenes of this game with the mod pack can look absolutely next gen, like it's a game coming out next year on Unreal Engine 5, well, the reality is that this is still running atop a game that was released in 2011. The technology of its era wasn't built with Unreal Engine capabilities in mind or Cyberpunk 2077 path tracing insanity. Even with 1300 mods installed, Skyrim is still Skyrim at its core. But I think it's a real testament to just how good this mod pack is that the main thing holding Eldergleam back from being next-gen Skyrim is mainly the fundamentals of Skyrim itself. Now, of course, shout out to Captain Panda for compiling this massive mod pack, and also credit where credit is due to all the modders who built out the different mods over the past 13 years of upgrading Skyrim. It's truly remarkable that such a classic game has not only endured the test of time, but moved forward with it, just showing why Bethesda is still beloved by so many gamers for supporting modability and letting the community take their game and turn it into something else, or improve it, evolve it, upgrade it. For me, it certainly breathes some fresh dragon fire into an old game and makes it exciting all over again. I'd be curious to know if you guys have gone down the Skyrim modding rabbit hole, and if so, what do you enjoy the most? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Up next, check out this Minecraft mod that similarly shows Minecraft in a way that truly complements the underlying tech with the visual upgrades that I think it deserves. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.